Love in its dimensions, how it affects and is affected by historical contexts, by ideology and material conditions, has always been a favorite theme to explore in art. In Sorry We're Closed, it is pictured in some of its many different forms and illusions, how violence can be bred from love, how it's born from solidarity and empathy, its physical dimension. Michelle is the protagonist who is cursed by a high-class demon called the Duchess. Michelle is cursed with the third eye that lets her see the demon world, but also with being forced to nurture genuine love for the Duchess before the Duchess makes her suffer. Despite the name, the Duchess sports a very non-binary appearance, being a mix of normative feminine and masculine features, the clean-shaved body and long hair and the muscular torso and broad shoulders. By several generic, classic and normative standards, the Duchess is extremely attractive. It's like a mass of normative non-binary perfection and genderless beauty capable of letting any human being's guard down. They are also sexualized through their clothes and postures, a powerful demon with a royal name and with material possessions like a whole hotel. The Duchess is dealing with the heartbreak of a past relationship and hunts for humans who might be good candidates as partners. Throughout the cursing process though, the victim needs to genuinely fall in love with the Duchess for the Duchess to be satisfied. It's not that the Duchess just unilaterally expects people to love her unconditionally. There's a game of seduction being played throughout the game with promises of fulfillment of the most fantastical fantasies allowed by their power. The ones chosen by the Duchess are certain to be graced with what seems like the closest thing to a perfect partner. A beautiful, sexy, all-powerful demon who will do anything for you, even freeing you from your slave job, and who won't mind listening to what you have to say for hours and hours, caring for you emotionally, wanting to know your fears and your shames, and having the power to put all of that away. But there is one thing that the Duchess is truly unable to do: getting someone to actually fall in love with them. As love can't be conquered, romantic love at least, a reminder of how cruel it can be being unable to spur someone else's love towards ourselves, but a reminder also of the importance of coming to terms with the fact that we aren't entitled to anyone's love. Of course, being as powerful a being as a high-class demon, coercion comes into play. It is true that the Duchess will try everything to get into their victims' good graces, but if everything fails, there is the threat of physical abuse and death. We get a very clear picture of this by finding the Duchess' previous victims and how love, rejection, and abuse have made them lose their humanity. Their stories most of the time end in the Duchess killing or physically mangling them, when they confirm they won't get their true and genuine unconditional romantic love from the victim. Michelle is a working-class girl who, interestingly, is also recovering from a breakup, managing the claustrophobic labyrinth of the cyclic routine of work, social relations, and her house, a studio rented just next to the store she works in. Except for the curse put upon her, there's nothing extraordinary about Michelle when we analyze her through the lens of a classical, empowering hero. As the narrative develops though, we are shown how Michelle navigates victimhood, heartbreak, and commitment to her friends. She is understandably and legitimately scared shitless on the first visit paid by the Duchess in her apartment. She is seduced, cursed, and confused. She thinks it's all a dream till she finds out some of her friends are also demons in disguise, and being aware of the Duchess' exploits and abuses from the past explain the situation to her. The thing about Michelle is that she never really performs the classical victim role. Make no mistake, she is under threat and she is a victim. The Duchess' harassment and threats of physical abuse are extremely evident, and Michelle is scared. In spite of that, she makes up her mind to get to the bottom of the curse and get rid of the Duchess' influence. Understanding she is right, she puts shame behind her back and acts, the odds not quite in her favor, but ready to face the consequences anyway. This is when we are put into Michelle's shoes and visit the demon world in search of clues. Facing monstrosities and watching the Duchess's previous victims' macabre ends. There isn't really a narrative that holds some secrets for you to find. The story is more or less laid out in front of you from the beginning, except for the development of some of your friends' plots. We find out about the story of demons and angels and of their fallout with each other fairly early, with no other relevant story element left out for later. There are details to find out, but never really a twist or a turn or something vital to the story. Our, or let's say Michelle's path, is one focused on the process of pushing through heartbreak, loneliness, and abuse. Not one that dingles some juicy story bits in front of us to find out if we keep playing. It is about the trials. No one tells Michelle how to feel or to internalize she's a victim. Her feelings come as naturally as her reaction to them. The choice is obvious. There isn't freedom from violent domination without reciprocal violence, and Michelle is ready to assume the risks. There is great tragedy in being unable to touch someone else's heart, despite putting all of our own into it for them. Love isn't controlled by anyone, and it just happens. Although people aren't entitled to someone else's love, there's still a deep sadness that comes from that inability. It is this and the vulnerability shown by the Duchess about her own past heartbreak that make Michelle a bit more understanding about it. There are so many dimensions to each character and story that it's hard to make one single reading from it all. The Duchess might be an abuser who needs to be taken down, but we also get to know them and realize how absolute loneliness can break even an all-powerful demon. The game kind of plays around with this multidimensionality by providing different endings depending on how you approach some side quests. The accomplishment of the criteria for the endings is related to how you interact with some of your friends. Oakley and Darren are a couple going through rough times, as Darren is kind of a dumbass that ends up working for the Duchess. But we find out how much he cares for Oakley, and how all of the stupid shit he does is actually ultimately done in order to, among other things, make Oakley's parents approve of him. Throughout the game, we are asked to make some decisions that might help or break their relationship. Clarissa is an angel who wants to get rid of Darren to pursue her own interests of hunting demons in Darren's bar, and so her and Darren's interests are kind of contradictory. You meet Chamul, an angel who is in love with a demon, but is at risk of losing his divinity as an angel because of it. Beloved, a friend of his, tries to convince you to sabotage their relationship, thinking it will be for Chamul's good, and so you are tasked with delivering letters from Chamul to his lover or not, and with advising Chamul positively on his relationship or not, reflecting on forbidden love, sacrifice, promises, and fear of the future, which is actually brought up in more cases in the game. Helping Chamul and Dream Eater, his lover, staying together will unlock one of the endings. Robin is Michelle's friend and helps her going through the investigation on the Duchess's victims, and with breaking the curse, but also has their own story arc around their angel lover who is assigned to guard an entrance to the underworld in a church and wants to free him. Robin provides another ending. If you help Clarissa getting rid of Darren, and with her plan to run the demon trap as a bar, you will unlock the third ending. Then there's Lucy. Lucy is a mysterious demon who takes the form of a silent human woman that we see very early on in the game. It's also Lucy that picks up the phone and allows us to save the game. After being cursed, Michelle finds out that Lucy, a silent neighbor, is in fact a two-headed demon who looks honestly fucking sick and second to only the Duchess's design. It actually parallels the Duchess' non-binarism by having two actual torsos of masculine and feminine features, both features in two separate bodies, but part of the same being. The Duchess having a mix of both features but in the same body and in the same being. Lucy offers to make Leslie, our ex-girlfriend, come back for us, and if we accept and go through with it, the fourth ending will unlock. Now, my interpretation is that Chamul's ending is mostly intended as the good ending. A romantic, lighthearted, everything turned out alright kind of finale to Michelle's story. In it, we decide to try to convince the Duchess to turn with pretty much the power of love. In this process, Michelle actually falls in love with the Duchess and deeply regrets it when the Duchess disappears after we have our final fight. We later find out that the Duchess reincarnated as an amnesiac human in the real world. This reads as kind of a moralist good ending, as we ultimately empathize with the Duchess and their suffering despite all of the abuse and threats. We fall in love and are genuinely loved in turn, after all of our pain and heartbreak. I still like how it's kind of nuanced though. You can extract the morals from the conclusion, but there are some other dimensions to this moralism that can be a bit more ambiguous. Let's not forget, we forgive the Duchess for all the suffering they've caused. I guess it also includes the message that no cause is lost as long as we have love. And the Duchess, a psychopath demon, is saved from the fact that their inevitable destruction is the only cure to their suffering and the suffering they're causing. All in all, I'm not sure how to describe it. It might be the most hopeful and human ending, but flirting with falling in love with the oppressor can be dangerous. The important thing is not succumbing in the healing process and yet leave room for empathy. It's also something we're more used to see in general too. And that's why my favorite is Robin's ending. It's, I guess, intended as the neutral one and follows the option of us trying to put an end to our curse by destroying the Duchess. It's important to mention that both Chamul's and Robin's endings are mostly the same, up to the point where the Duchess falls in love with us and regrets dying as they're unable to get to know us, as they're about to disappear. The key difference is that in Robin's ending, or let's call it the neutral ending, Michelle does not fall in love and never gets to see the Duchess again. I believe this ending to be very powerful. It's not about the pure vengeance of destroying your enemy as an ending in itself. In fact, that's not at all what's powerful about it. What makes it the best ending for me, in message and fun, is that we never fall in love with the Duchess. With falling in love with the Duchess, although they get destroyed anyway, it follows that there is some sort of compensation for them. Michelle has been pushing forward, fighting abuse, only to wave in the final stretch and giving the Duchess what she needed. Overcoming the curse, the Duchess, and making them fall in love with us is possibly the ultimate emancipation for Michelle. Not only she has gotten rid of her abuser, she has made her aggressor so in love with her that they are ultimately crushed by the weight of their regret and never being able to have you now that they are in love with you. There's a cruel dimension to that, yeah. But simply from the emancipatory perspective, Michelle has surpassed herself to such an extent that she is now a genuine object of desire for the aggressor. She successfully shifts the poles of domination. It is the Duchess that is now dominated by her desire and regret, while Michelle stands free. After all the threats, it is impossible to pass a stronger message of independence and self-love. Again, it is not about what happens to the Duchess, but rather what this means for Michelle alone. Okay, yeah, so what about the other endings? Clarissa's ending is kind of sad because it involves it ending the relationship of Oakley and Darren to hand the bar to Clarissa, and Michelle ends up working for the Duchess in Darren's place. Darren was working as a liaison between the real world and the Duchess's hotel, and consequently brought many demons to his bar. As an angel, Clarissa sees in this the opportunity to hunt demons, luring them to the bar. It's kind of cool because we get to see Michelle being badass, moving to the dark side, but that kind of falls apart when you think she fucked up her friends and is still a servant of the Duchess. Now, Lucy's, though, is more interesting. It kind of works as the moralist bad ending counterpart to Chamul's. We follow the path in which Lucy offers to bring back our ex Leslie for us. It's pretty clear, or maybe that's just me, that this is a very unilateral decision with unforeseen consequences. It is about how we feel about the loss and how we think there's somehow a way of going back to forcing people to like us again. This narcissistic and egocentrical way of thinking about our relationships does reveal itself to be bad karma for us in Lucy's ending. So, what the hell happens? It is revealed that Lucy and the Duchess are somehow acquaintances. It's unclear how, but one can speculate that Lucy is in fact the cause of the Duchess's heartbreak and consequently going apeshit by torturing everyone they can get their hands on. Lucy gets rid of the Duchess, now weakened after our final fight, and suggests they will use them as a servant. And, in a bizarre twist, they turn on us too. Discarding their previous human skin of the lady in the executive suit, they get inside Michelle, turning her into a silent shell like their previous host. The last nail in the coffin, however, is that we see a scene afterwards of Leslie going to the store where Michelle works in the hopes of reconciliation. Michelle, however, now an empty vessel with Lucy inside, is unable to say anything, which Leslie interprets as a no and walks away forever. A very cruel ending where morals play a big part in, but very creative in the cruelty. Going after what we shouldn't, being punished to such an extent that on the brink of getting what we wanted. we are absolutely and completely unable to. Beautiful in its poeticity, but sad as shit in the morals underneath. Love might be a very popular topic, but Sorry We're Closed rushes you with so many of its contradictions and nuances that it's almost overwhelming. The spontaneity, the heartbreak, the cruelty, the fear, all of the material conditions that dictate who, how, and what we love, and which in turn we approach in so many different ways based on what we feel. There are a lot of threads in the game to follow, which in turn have multiple different possible readings each. It makes it a very special work, and one which I'm very curious to hear people voice their thoughts about.